is Steve Davis, so I'm the new chairman of the Information and Audits Committee in the Georgia House, and I want to welcome everyone to our first and organizational meeting. Our first course of business is going to be to approve the rules of the committee. It's in your packet. There's 10 rules, pretty basic. We're going to have a quorum of 3 members. We only have a 7-member committee, but we're going to keep it at a low number. So when we do have meetings, we can have a quorum pretty readily. Has everyone had a few minutes to look over the rules? And if I have no objection, I'd entertain a motion to adopt them. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Again, this is our first meeting. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm in my 4th term here in the Georgia House. I'm a real estate broker by trade. I serve on 6 committees, so I'm pretty involved in a lot of different things. And just as for our new members here, Mr. Atwood and Mr. Harrell, I'd like for you just to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and how you do it.
I'm Brett Harrell from District 106 out of Gwinnett County. By day, I work for a garbage company, Advanced Disposal, sell their services to cities and counties. I'm a former mayor and small business owner, and look forward to working with you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Atwood?
And I'm Alex Atwood. I represent House District 179. I'm a practicing attorney. I was a magistrate judge for a while before I ran for public office for the first time, and have served as the chief operating officer of a security corporation prior to that, and retired as that for 28 years as a federal agent. So just happy to be here and working with you.
Excellent. Well, welcome. And to my left here, we have our Secretary of the Committee, Representative Maddox.
Billy Maddox. I represent District 127, which is Pike, Upson, and part of Lamar County. This is my 4th session. I'm an attorney by profession, and that's what I do when I'm not up here, but just glad to be here and assist in any way that I can.
Excellent. Thank you, Representative. Mr. Secretary. All right. Also in your folders, what I've decided that I wanted to do with our committee, as we all know, we're over the journals, and we review those each day. They will be emailed to you every day. If you ever see any mistakes or errors in there, please don't hesitate to get with the clerk and myself, and we'll get the journal taken care of. In addition to that, we have other legislative duties, including the fiscal office, the clerk's office, and the Department of Audits. The Speaker has commissioned me to get this committee a little bit more involved to ensure that the monies that the Appropriations Committee is appropriating to the agencies are accurately and responsibly spending the taxpayers' dollars, therefore being over audits. So what I've decided to do is break us up. Even though we're a small committee, I want to kind of mirror the Appropriations Committee by assigning each of us a chair of a subcommittee, which would basically mirror that same subcommittee on appropriations. Therefore, if an audit comes in for the Department of Transportation, the person over transportation would be over that. If it comes in with behavioral health, the person that's over the health subcommittee would review that audit. And if there's something within that audit that might generate some interest where we could save some taxpayer dollars, then we will notify the vice chair of that subcommittee on appropriations. So the reasoning behind this is not to create more work, but to divide work out and work more effectively. Now, in front of us, we've got a list of all the subcommittees in the chair that you will have responsibilities. There is going to be one change. I'm going to make Vice Chairman Chokas the chair of the Higher Education Subcommittee, and Chuck Sims the chair of Human Resource Subcommittee. Other than that, Secretary Maddox will be the chair of Public Safety. You accept that, sir? Yes, sir. Excellent. Excellent. Representative Franklin will be the chair of the Health Subcommittee. Representative Atwood, would you chair the Education Subcommittee? Excellent. And Representative Harrell, the General Government, I thought with your mayoral is that a word, mayoral experience would fit you well to be in general government. Excellent. And if I can get if everyone's happy with those assignments, if I can get a motion from one of the members here to adopt these subcommittees, I would entertain that. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. We do have a guest with us here today. No agenda per se. He just wanted to come. Our auditor, our state auditor, Russell Hinton, is here. I figured he would come and just introduce yourself to the new committee and just say hello to everyone if you want to say a few words. Is it witness one or witness two? Do you know? It's one of those. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Russell Hinton. I've been state auditor since elected by the legislature in 2000. I head the Department of Audits and Accounts. We have approximately 286 auditors on staff, about 260 professional staff, with CPAs, MBAs, wide variety of financial certifications. We're charged by statute with auditing, performing financial audits of the financial statements of the state government as a whole. We also audit the local boards of education of the state, as well as all the units of the university system, the technical college system as well. That's on the financial and compliance audit side. We have a staff of approximately 20 to 25 performance auditors, which tend to focus on take a more narrow focus on a particular topic area within a particular agency. As I was listening to your committee assignments, some of the projects that we've on our performance audit side that we've finished up over the last 12 months or so. For instance, we've looked at special license plates out at Department of Revenue, looking at that. At the Board of Regents, we've looked at mandatory student fees and their application there. We've done a study on QBE funding for the local agencies. Let's see, virtual school at the Department of Education. But we're hoping to release within the next month or so. We're currently working on a big audit at the Georgia Lottery, looking at perhaps some areas where they're might be able to maximize the use of the lottery funds for Hope and pre-K. But we cover a wide variety of areas with our performance audits. Many of those are directed by under our statute the chair of the House Appropriations Committee, the chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, and the governor may request special projects in certain areas and direct us to areas of focus. In addition to that, based on our financial and audit compliance work that we do at all the other agencies, we of course pop up some areas which we see may call for improvement, so we'll perform work in those areas, sort of self-directed in that regard. But like I said, we're here to serve the committee, and we appreciate the opportunity to let you come introduce ourselves to you. And if there's anything else we can do, just please give us a holler. And
thank you for coming today. We really appreciate it. Do you, when you do the audits, you you have them in PDF format or anything like that,
Yes.
so where we're not using paper on all these audits, that we
Yes,
could
sir.
get them?
They're available on our website. Everything that we do is available on our website, and we currently have under development a listserv and a documentation portion of that, whereby probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be rolling out a listserv we can roll it out to your entire committee, and each member of the committee will be able to designate particular keywords that they're interested in, and you'll get an email blast letting you know that a particular report has been issued in that particular area.
Excellent. And one follow-up to that, timing of the audits. You know, obviously for the 2010 audits that'll come in for the different departments and agencies, timing-wise, when can we expect?
Okay, well, we've completed our audit of the state's comprehensive annual financial report. That came out around December the 31st, but it's volume about that thick, and only an accountant could love it. But it's a very comprehensive financial representation of the state. We also issue what we call the budgetary comparison report, which basically compares each and every agency appearing in the Appropriations Act, how they performed against their budget financially, and any over expenditures, under expenditures, such as that. So that has been a particularly useful report to the appropriations groups.
And what was the name of that again?
It's a budgetary compliance report.
Excellent.
And like I say, once again, our website is searchable. You can put in certain keywords, but we just don't have the listserv portion up right now. We're continuing to work on that. And like I say, our performance audits tend to take a much more narrow focus and may give you much more detail and include operational efficiencies which might be obtained in a particular area, as opposed to our financial and compliance audits, which are required by both state and federal law that we perform those.
Excellent. And just so the committee knows that Mr. Hinton and I met last week, and we talked a little bit about our committee working with his department and being a service to him. So I just want to let you guys know that. If I have any questions, Vice Chairman Chokas would like to ask you a question, Mr. Hinton.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Russell, how are you?
I'm doing fine, sir.
It's good to see you. The two questions that I have is, in the past when you've given us the audits, there were some suggestions many times when they were not performing as well as they should be.
Mm-hmm.
The follow-up,
Yes, sir.
what do you recommend we do as a committee to make sure that those suggestions are implemented?
Well, what has been beneficial in the past is if the committee in their deliberations or whatever, if they identify an area which has not been addressed, then we've had a couple of instances where agencies have come before the committee and explained the reason.
Exactly.
That's been somewhat beneficial, but once again, when we're doing performance audits or such as that, we're sort of coming in from a management overview point of view, and the agencies may have legitimate reasons for not implementing some of our recommendations, but I think you'll find particularly in our performance reports, we're required by our audit standards to give them the ability to respond or rebut, and then your review of a particular performance audit would give you a sense of both their position and ours, and if there's a coin to be tossed or some refereeing to be done, then that would be done at your discretion. We don't have any statutory authority to mandate our recommendations.
Well, because I've noticed in the past in reviewing those audits and the performance audits that you're talking about, that sometimes they would just actually, for lack of a better word, ignore.
Yes, sir, we have been ignored before.
Okay. and especially at these times, not only from the perspective of not having enough money from the fiscal perspective of the state, but also from the perspective that we want each department, each agency to be as efficient as possible. Is there a method where you could red flag those things to us to let us know what you see, or?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I could work with the chair. I'll be glad to do that. I mean, if we've got a particularly contentious issue that I think the committee should be aware of, or particularly where it comes as a sort of disconnect between our view and the other agency's view, but we'll just make you aware of those situations without
making recommendations.
Making a recommendation.
Got you. Thank you. Mr. Chair, if you will indulge me, I've got another question.
Yes, sir.
The budgetary compliance report that you produce for appropriations and so forth.
Yes, sir.
When does that go out? And
it goes out in late December.
Late December?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, our goal is to have that out before y'all come into session.
Gotcha. I either misplaced mine. I definitely would like one, and I would assume that all the members of this committee would like one. Okay. Do you provide those just to the appropriations people, or?
No, sir. Of course, once again, that's on our website. You can pull it down PDF. It's a fairly lengthy document. We do everything we can to minimize the number that we're doing, and in fact, in certain instances, what we've been doing over the past years, we will send just a postcard to each legislator, allowing them to mark off whether they want something in CD-ROM form or actual hard copy. And for the larger reports, a lot of the legislators like the actual document itself.
Gotcha.
But I will, if the committee desires that, I'll be glad to provide all y'all copies.
I don't know if the chair does, but I sure would like one.
All right, sir.
There's only 7 members of the committee,
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
Okay, we'll do that.
Thank you, Russell.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. And if you want to, does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Hinton? Yes, sir, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah, just real quickly, you were going over in your introductory remarks, you made mention of something that you had done with respect to the tag office, or with license plates?
Yes, so we looked at license plates.
What was it that you looked at?
Basically, we looked at the fee structure surrounding special license plates. What we found was that there was little, if any, consistency across the different kind of plates a citizen might get. Some they may charge you $25 for, some might be $50, some may be free, and what we were trying to do is just to point out those inconsistencies in that particular manner, and how the Department of Revenue might more consistently charge for those.
Was that in conjunction to the fee bill?
It was used in the fee bill, but we had completed it prior to the fee bill.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
The last thing that we discussed in our meeting last week was the financial compliance from local
Yes, sir.
entities, and some of the structure there and the compliance issue that you have or don't have at this point.
Yeah.
You want to tell the members of the committee a little bit about that conversation?
Okay. Yes, sir. Basically, one thing that our office is also required to do is to review, local cities and counties are required by statute to obtain a financial and compliance audit through an independent public accountant. It's our responsibility to accept those reports. We have some staff that review the reports to make sure they're done appropriately, to and if there are any corrective actions, then we make sure, well, if there are any findings in the report, we're supposed to make sure that that particular government has filed a corrective action plan on how to correct those findings. We have over time we have had a few governments which were sort of chronically non-compliant. At any one point, you know, we may have 40 or 50 which are out of compliance, but often that is a timing issue. There are certain mandates that they have their reports turned into us by, say, like 180 days after the end of the fiscal year. We can waive that requirement for up to 2 fiscal years, but when you get into the 3rd fiscal year, they're no longer allowed any waivers. Now, what happens currently in that process, if they're out of compliance, then the agencies of state government and indirectly the Treasury are told to check with us before they issue any funds to a particular government. That listing is not static because people are coming into compliance and going out of compliance on a continual basis, so that's why people have to kind of contact us. But theoretically, those funds would be withheld. Now, some of the smaller entities may not be due any money from the state, so there's a disconnect there. And but I know several governments, particularly as the homeowners tax relief grant program fizzled out, the way the Department of Revenue was doling that money out is it was on a first come, first served basis. So if they ran out of money before a government could come into compliance, then that government didn't get to the trough. So that caught a lot of people's attention and everything. But last year there were efforts put forth by the Information and Audit Committees to try and tweak the law to a certain degree to bring more of those governments into compliance. And we've gone through every iteration of the bill, and it changed quite a bit as it moved through. It passed the House. The primary components of that was that if a government, currently I can't mandate that a city have an audit. So what they were looking at was that in the event that you had one of these chronic non-compliers or whatever, then I believe one iteration of the law, it would be that the law would state that I would contract with a CPA firm to go in and audit that thing. The city or the county would be charged. There were 2 different versions of it. One was 150% of the cost of the audit. The other one was 250% of the cost of the audit. Our agency would be reimbursed for the pure audit cost, and we'd pay the CPA, and then the rest would go into the state treasury. But it was somewhat of a punitive system for those people that didn't comply on a consistent basis. But that's kind of where it was. It passed the House, but it didn't get through the Senate. It was pretty much toward the last part of the session.
You have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Russell, I don't have a question. I do have a comment because one of my counties was one of those local governments that you were talking about. And in my particular case, it was just negligence on their part. They were not providing the information over to the CPA, and the CPA couldn't get the audit done, and they lost about $100,000.
Yes, sir. I remember working with Senator Hooks as well.
And I hope and trust that they are prompt in getting you the reports now.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Hinton, thank you again for coming out today and discussing all this with us. We'll be working, and we're here to help you, and hopefully you'll help us. And if you get those documents to the members, I would greatly appreciate
Okay.
that.
And that's budget comparison reports. Okay.
Thank
Sure
you.
enough. Thank you.
Representative Chokas, before you came, we had each of the members introduce themselves and tell them a little bit about their district and their background. I think it's your turn.
I'm Mike Chokas, and I'm District 134, Sumter, Sly, Marion, and part of Talbot County. And I think this is starting my 7th year on information and audits, and I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right, everyone, with no further business, this meeting is adjourned.